How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to Review the Prem. And it is a happy new year for some people. Not for Spurs fans, that's for sure. But yeah.
Better Spurs than West Ham, let's say.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true. Look, Ruben Amorim has faced the chop. He's been sacked. Looked like Nuno could be the next one on the chopping block as well.
Well, you're about to say Nuno to be next in line to be United manager. Would think how things are going. I wouldn't be that surprised.
But look, as you know, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for correct result. Star man, once you pick that man, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. The scores on the doors, 10 points is the gap, 180 to 190 in my favour. Let's see how we got on this weekend, starting off with Aston Villa 3, Nottingham Forest 1. We both went for 2-1. Look, I think first half, Villa really took Forest to the cleaners. I thought Villa looked really good value, but it was only 1-0 at half time, wasn't it? And I think the game basically stemmed on that bloody goalkeeping error. What the hell was that?
It's one of the worst I've seen.
I've not, yeah, and he injures himself in the process as well.
I think that was fake. I think that was fake. He was so embarrassed with that
mistake. Did you see how he walked up? He was sobbing.
I think he was because he embarrassed himself with that mistake. What was that? His first start in the league? Maybe.
No, he started against us, didn't he?
Okay, so obviously he's not. I don't know if you can say he's the number one, but that mistake was just so inexplicable. How he comes out in that situation where the ball is literally near the centre circle. Yeah. He comes rushing out. Like he's got so many players in between him and getting the ball as well. It was so obviously him not going to get the ball first. I don't know. It was a rush of blood to the head. Brainless moment.
Because like McGinn obviously puts it 2-0 just after half time, right? But they get themselves back in the game with Morgan Gibbs-White. And then 10 minutes later, the keeper does that. And I'm just thinking, what are you doing, man? And you say he is their number one. He's relegated Sells to the bench for the last 3 or 4 games. And he's looked actually decent, to be fair. But that was an absolute horror show, man.
Yeah, horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. Am I going to say it again? Again for my weekly saying with Villa.
Well, you missed the episode where they lost 4-1. So
fair enough. So as soon as I come back to the studio, they're back to scoring outside the box and winning games. But no, to be fair, this probably one they did deserve the win. Yeah. They were the better team. So fair play to them, and that was a good performance. And Watkins, he's on firing form all of a sudden. He's played, I think, 3 games in a row now. He's scored and a really great goal as well. Brilliant finish from outside the box. He's looking like his old self. Yeah. McGinn obviously had a couple of great goals, and look, they're level on points now with City, which we'll get into a bit later. But they're not. It seems like they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Aston Villa at the moment, despite that poor loss to Arsenal.
Look, at this moment in time, it looks like Villa have replaced Liverpool in the front three, and it looks as though, for all intents and purposes, that they're a shoo-in for top 4 right now.
Well, then they are 8 points clear with the inconsistency of everyone else. Yeah, you can't really see anyone clawing back that kind of points gap.
Exactly.
And Villa, even if they go on a poor run of form, you think they probably still stick to that position.
Still a long way to go. It's half a season to go, but anything can happen.
But the point is, like, similar to last season where Liverpool had like an 8-point gap early on, but Arsenal were just so inconsistent. You would think even if Liverpool had a bad run of form, they can't be caught.
The thing is, right?
And who's going to be consistent enough to close an 8-point gap?
Yeah, look, at this moment in time, it looks like no one is going to be able to do that. But Liverpool got more than enough quality to get some consistency in their game, don't they? And Villa, we know they've got it in them to lose 3 or 4 games in a row. And we saw the first 5 games of the season, didn't we? So I don't think it's all done just yet, but it is looking difficult.
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens once Europa League gets really serious for them. Yeah. Because we know it's a big trophy close to Emre's heart. Obviously, if they're out the title race, because right now they're still very much in it, but come March, April, if they're not really that close to it, do they start resting players, going full strength in Europa? And will that affect their results?
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But moving on, Brighton 2, Burnley 0. Sim went for 2-0, got a 5-pointer in this one.
Nice.
I went for 1-1. Yeah, I just felt like this is kind of the games that Brighton seem to drop points in, but back to winning ways for Brighton after a horror December where they didn't pick up a win. it was kind of a routine victory, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Scott Parker was very angry with his team after the game, saying that recent performances, have been much better, and they went to Newcastle and put in a good display despite losing, and he'd been happy with how they've been playing recently, but this one was a disgrace, he said. He was weren't competitive, weren't in the game, and Brighton made light work of them. They did, and it was a simple day. And Brighton now, they're up to 10th, their first win, I think, in 6 games, I think it was.
Yeah.
They hadn't won in a while, but
they didn't win the whole of December.
Yeah. Classic. As soon as January comes around, they're back to winning ways.
Yeah, Fabian Hertz has never won a Premier League game in December. Quite crazy. Let's move on. And the next game is Wolves against West Ham. This was a crazy game. So Wolves get their first win of the season against their old manager, Nuno Espirito Santo. A 3-0, and it was 3-0 at half-time. And look, obviously, none of us predicted Wolves wins.
No.
But this just blew me away, this result. I didn't see the game, but I'm looking at my phone at half-time and I see 3-0 to Wolves. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And the way I've looked at West Ham recently, I think they've been playing all right, but they've just not been getting the results and losing it late in games and whatever. We've been saying on this show that their results haven't been a reflection on how they've been playing, but to lose a game like this had to be 3 points for West Ham. It had to be 3 points. And yeah, they're saying that Nuno's got one game to save his job against his other old club in Nottingham Forest.
The problem is they've changed already the manager in Potter. They've brought in Nuno. They change it again. Where exactly do they go?
Slaven Bilic is the rumours.
Bilic, that's crazy. Why would Bilic be better in a relegation battle? In my opinion, you back him in January, you give him what he wants, and I think he's your best shot of staying up. But they are 2 wins in 14. The reality is they've been worse under Nuno than they were under Potter.
Yeah,
that's the truth. That's what the data says, and they're obviously now mired in a relegation battle. And at the moment, they don't really look like they've got the stomach or the fight to actually stay up. It's they're in a really precarious situation here, West Ham. And then not even just for this season, but you look into the future. They've got this massive stadium, having that in the Championship, players on big wages. The squad is going to have a massive overhaul. They're going to lose all their... Well, I don't know if they care about losing any of their players, but probably everyone's going to leave. Bowen, their big players, he's definitely out the door. So in terms of the future West Ham, this is absolutely massive. And you're losing 3-0. You're 3-0 down. By the way, Wolves are not beating anyone at all this season. They've never even been in the lead in any more than one game or 2 games this season. They've actually just been ahead, let alone one. So you're 3-0 down against this side. That is a major alarm bells must be ringing over at West Ham, which is why you're hearing the rumours about him being sacked. They were atrocious in that first half. Absolutely atrocious. They were completely opened up time and time again. So lethargic. By the way, this kid for Wolves, Mane, he looks like a real talent. He was running rings around this West Ham team in that first half. He was absolutely brilliant. Scored a brilliant goal, won a penalty. I think did he get another assist? But he was fantastic. He was pulling out tricks and flicks, and West Ham couldn't live with him. So maybe he's one to watch down the line. A lot of people excited by him. But to be fair to Wolves, drew at Old Trafford in midweek, and so they've been improving.
They have
recently. But yeah, West Ham, where do they go from here?
They need to win.
4 points away from Forest.
This is a massive game on the weekend, man.
Leeds now.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Points from Leeds.
Yeah, look, I think it's a big dogfight now between West Ham and Forest, and you've got to put Burnley in there as well because they're not too far away. Look, it does look... Do you think there's any chance that Wolves can save themselves? Because look, West Ham and Forest are not... They're just losing every game right now.
I think it's too much. 12 points.
Yeah, but
that's never been done before.
It's never been done before, but if West Ham and Forest keep losing in the manner and as often that they do, any point that Wolves get is just going to chip away at the tally.
Can't see it.
Another win.
I think
if Wolves
has been done.
Yeah, I agree. I do think they're down, but can they give themselves a bit of a chance? If they win next game and let's say Forest lose, then that's already 9 points.
Well, Forest playing West Ham, so if they win the next game, they catch up on one of them.
On one of them, exactly.
They need to win, but look, to be fair, last season they did win 6 in a row, didn't they?
Exactly.
But they had Kunyu and Nuri.
Yeah.
And they don't have them this season.
You
never know.
Look, in my opinion, they're already down. I think it's obvious to say that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they make more of a fight of it than maybe what people are suggesting.
Maybe they get close, but 12 points is just so when you only won one game in 20 games.
I know.
You do need to win. How many games are you going to have to win second half of the season to stay up?
Well, I don't know. It depends. It depends what Forest and West Ham do, to be honest. But
Or how many? Like, if we're predicting a points total, well, they're going to get over 30, aren't they?
I think they need to get. Yeah, they probably need to get over 30, low 30s around
That's
that.
24 points.
Yeah.
That is, how many wins is that? So that's 27, 8 wins?
It's 8 wins, but they got 6 on the bounce at the end of last season.
8 wins in 20 games when they've not won.
I know, it's crazy to think.
It's not
crazy
possible.
to think about, but I don't think it's completely impossible.
That's like European form.
Yeah, and they showed that at the back end of last season.
Yeah, but there was a different team, different manager.
Well, yeah, but a different manager, and the manager that got sacked that half put them in the mess that they're in right now, and also Cunha was out suspended and injured for a big part of those 6 wins, wasn't he? It was Strand Larsen that actually picked up the can.
As well, Strand Larsen.
He's been awful this season, Strand Larsen.
Look,
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're going to do it. I'm not saying that they're going to do it. But I got a feeling that they might run it close.
I don't think so. I think they're going to be down very early.
Well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, look. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't put a bet on it. I wouldn't put a bet on them running it close. It's just maybe. You never know.
If you're a West Ham board, would you bring in Bilic right now, or are you backing Nuno?
I'm backing Nuno, to be honest, because the performances bar this Wolves game have been a lot better than their results suggest. So they just need a few players in January just to fine tune things, and I think results will come.
One thing is they're getting all those leaks now from journalists.
Yeah, it looks like it's done.
All that kind of stuff.
It looks like it's done, to be honest.
Maybe it'll have the Farker effect.
Maybe.
I think that's what they're looking for.
But as well, on top of that, like Nottingham Forest lost 4 games in a row.
Yeah,
which is crazy. So, look, we'll get into Forest in a bit, but let's go on to Bournemouth against Arsenal. It finished 3-2 at the Vitality. Sim went for 3-0. I went for 1-0. And I was watching this game, and obviously 10 minutes in, Gabriel makes that horrendous mistake, basically plays Evan Nilsson through on goal. He makes up for it 6 minutes later, getting on the score sheet. 2 games, 2 goals for Gabriel back from injury. And I was the rest of the first half, I thought Bournemouth were the better team, and Bournemouth, if anyone was going to score, it looked like Bournemouth, and Arsenal looked a bit ropey. But, second half come, Declan Rice stepped up when it mattered most, got the 2 goals. Krupi scores an unbelievable goal to get them back in the game, and then Bournemouth couldn't really find anything to get that equaliser. But, yeah, look, I think this as well has been a big story of Bournemouth's season so far. Looking good in games, but haven't been able to take anything from games.
Yeah, and that's what's held them back. Obviously, defensively has been the big problem. Going forward, they still look like as free-flowing and they create chances and they look great, but defensively, so open. They can't really defend for toffee at the moment, and that's really they're what's holding them back. And maybe it's no surprise, given all the defenders they lost in the summer, that that's now starting to get exposed really badly, and they seem to have no way of addressing that unless they sign some players, in my opinion. But I'm not worried about Bournemouth. I think they're still playing well, but I think that as well, when you're playing such an intense way and then you're conceding goals like you are, it's tough mentally to keep going and keep being as aggressive as you were, because you just know you're a moment away from letting in a goal. So that's obviously a big problem. But from Arsenal's point of view, they seem inevitable, don't they, at the moment, in terms of just winning games. I know they're definitely looking nervy. And again, it happened again. They conceded late on, and it was a bit of a nervous finish. But they are just finding a way to win games. And when teams around them are drawing and dropping points, they're not. And that's the important thing for them. What
I want to say is Declan Rice won them this game. And in my opinion, Declan Rice has been the best player in the Premier League this season. I think he's been... It's hard for me to say, but I think he's been absolutely fantastic. And game in, game out, he never has a bad game, no matter what how Arsenal perform. And he just keeps those consistent levels, and he's big reason why they are where they are right now. I don't think if Declan Rice, because there was a murmuring that he was going to be injured for this game, and he made it obviously late on. If he wasn't available for this game, I don't know if they take the 3 points.
Yeah, obviously he was ruled out of the Villa game, and he was seen in a video saying, "Oh, the knee is bad," or whatever, and people were speculating, but came back, got those 2 goals, and he's such an important player for them. He just, every game, so consistent, always there for Arsenal, and we know he's brilliant off the ball, but on the ball, he's also starting to provide goal contributions as well, even though we know he takes brilliant corners. So they know Arsenal, if they just keep getting over the line, and at the moment, other teams are faltering in the title race. So they've got a 6-point cushion again. So I think they're going to start feeling very good about their position.
Yeah, absolutely. But if Arsenal win the league, he's going to get PFA Player of the Year, I'll tell you that. Let's move on to Leeds against Manchester United, which ended up being Ruben Amorim's last game in charge. The Leeds train just keeps rolling. They just keep picking up points week in, week out. Draws, wins, mainly draws. But look, they go 1-0 up. Cunha levels it very quickly afterwards. We both went for 2-1 to Leeds, and it probably should have been, to be honest.
Yeah, I think... Sorry. I think Leeds definitely had the better ending to the game, and they definitely should have won it late on. But look, that's at the end of the day, it was a draw, probably a lucky result for United. But the story is obviously what happened after, and he had his Conte moment, didn't he? That's what happened in the press conference. He had his big moment saying, I'm the manager, I'm not the head coach, all this kind of stuff. And basically I'm going to go at the hierarchy, complaining about that lack of control, a lack of support from the hierarchy. There's been murmurings and rumours and reports about tensions behind the scenes for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it seems as though it's actually really similar to the Conte situation in the sense that if you look at the league table, is it sackable? Like, could you justify where they are on the league table? Yes. Have they been playing poorly? Yes, but where they are, it's definitely not a bad position. They're stick 3 points off the top 4. So you're thinking, like, it's not a terrible position to be in, but clearly things is all not right there. And Amorim has been threatening to blow up in his press conferences over the last 2 weeks. He's finally done it, and this morning we've woken up and he's gone and he's been sacked. And I think look, for me, I've obviously been very much saying I don't think this guy for Man United is going to be the way forward. He is, I think, on Fraud Watch, I've been saying that since the beginning of the season. Nothing really of what I've seen has changed my mind massively on that fact, despite the fact results have stabilised a bit and they've gotten better results. I still think they don't look great on the pitch. But to sack him at this point is a very odd decision. Apart from whatever is happening behind the scenes on the pitch, I think results-wise, I think you probably should stick with it because he's getting you close to the top 4. So has he got a shout of maybe getting there? I think you probably bank on that rather than sacking him. But has the relationship become untenable? That's probably the case.
I think that press conference made it untenable for him, just like the Conte press conference made it untenable for him. So once he came out with that and he was saying, oh, you know what, my contract's still 18 months left, and then basically he was going, we'll go our separate ways after that, which was crazy when I was watching it. I only saw it this morning. I was like, what the hell was Amorim cooking up in that press conference? But in terms of the timing of the sacking, you're looking at it, right? They've sacked him. Mbeumo's out of the AFCON. Amad Diallo's out of the AFCON. Bruno Fernandes is injured. I mean, in the last few games, as much as it's not been great, 2 draws and a win, with these players that have been out, he's doing the best that he can with kind of players. And I think when Mbeumo was there, when Bruno was there, when Amad was there in the last few games before the AFCON, their attack was actually looking really good. And I thought, Amorim was starting to get a tune out of this Manchester United team. So I thought, the timing is a bit odd, but it's all about that press conference at the end of the day. If that press conference doesn't happen, he's still in the job. Yeah,
I think when you're basically calling out the hierarchy and you're basically saying back me or sack me or give me more control, and his record is as bad as it has been over the long term, then you're asking for trouble, let's be honest. You're playing with fire. Maresca saw that, even though his record was a hell of a lot better than Amorim's. He was also playing with fire, and he obviously ended up getting burnt, and he went, and it looks like they're getting Rosinha. So his record has a lot less to stand on. He's got a lot less credit in the bank. So I guess from United point of view, it's like, who are you to tell us what to do? Who are you to put pressure on us when your job is very much not safe or secure right now?
Yeah.
So he only really has himself to blame. But on the flip side, United have been consistent saying you can only judge him after his 3rd year. We're going to give him time. We need a project, all this kind of stuff. The results have, objectively, they have improved. And the underlying metrics have improved as well. And from Amorim's point of view, it's like, I've been doing my job this season. I know last season went badly, and it ended all poorly, but you kept me. Things have improved. What do they expect this season? If I told you, or told Man United fan, after 20 games you're going to be 6th and 3 points off the top 4, would they have taken that? 100% they would have taken that at the beginning of the season. I don't think many people would have had United in the top 4 before the season. So the fact that they're close and in that fight, he would argue, I'm showing you what I can do, so you just need to back me, and I need to sign players, so I need more control. You need to trust me. So I understand both points of view. But I just think the whole thing's a mess. I think the whole thing's an absolute mess. Now, what direction do they go in? Darren Fletcher's coming in as interim. The weird thing I find weird about the statement is they're saying in the statement, we think it's the right time to make a change so that we can improve results and get European football. But it's like, there's now reports saying they're not going to hire anyone until the summer. So are they saying an interim is better than Amorim? Is that what they're saying?
I think this move is absolutely nuts. But look, it all comes down to the press conference at the end of the day. The hot rumours now, I don't know how true they are, but they're saying Fletcher till the end of the season and Glasner in the summer. And I'm thinking about it, and like the Man United fans, the key thing that they keep saying is they don't want to see any more 3 at the back.
Yeah.
Well, if you're bringing in Glasner in the summer, I've got some horrible news for you, Manchester United fans, but you're going to be back to 3 at the back at the beginning of next season. And look, Glasner might bring better short-term results than Amorim, but it's not going to be the way that you want to play. And it's still like when you're playing against Manchester United and you low block, they're going to come up against difficulties. I don't think Glasner's the right guy for Manchester United. I really don't.
Well, there's just a report here, just breaking an hour ago, saying there is significant support of Man United for Roberto De Zerbi.
See, I think I think they should go for Maresca, man.
They should go for Maresca. They should. I think that'd be a good appointment. I think there's hot rumours about Xavi as well. He's obviously available. Apparently, he's reportedly said he'll jump at a chance to go to Man United. De Zerbi wouldn't be a bad appointment, I think. Although how he would handle a top job like that, because he's a bit of a hothead, I think that's obviously reservations. I think in a weird way, Ange has the mentality to be a Man United manager, in my opinion, to be a top manager of a top club with big resources. And I think his kind of mentality would work at a club like Man United, like we're the best, that kind of like single-minded kind of belief in the club and themselves. I think that's something that Man United fans are yearning for. Whether tactically it would be a fit. I think with the players they got as well, I'm not sure it would be a right fit with Ange. So yeah, I think if they can get Maresca,
And with Casemiro, Ugarte, De Ligt, and all these players.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. I don't know the players.
That's a recipe for disaster, I'm telling you.
I think that the mentality he has would work at a club like Man United. I really do. That full-headed belief in himself and the club. I think that would work at Man United. I think the United fans would love that. But, I don't know if the players right now would work.
If they hired Ange Postecoglou, there would be outroar in the Manchester United fan base, I tell you that. There would be complete outroar.
Maybe.
I think they would hate the appointment. Look, he might do well once he gets his full team, but I think it will take a while to get there and a lot of hardships on the way.
I think there's going to have to be an overhaul, to be honest. Whoever, because there's a lot of aging players like Xerxes who are not good enough and need to be sold. There's also they've been designing the squad for a 3 at the back, like people like Dorgu, who's a wing back.
I think that's why they're going to bring in Glasner.
Yeah, I don't know if that'd be a smart appointment, to be honest, but I just think the whole thing's a mess. The whole thing's a mess from top to bottom. Ineos, obviously, had sacked Ten Hag. They said that was a mistake. Then they gave all this back into Amorim, and now, not even 2 years? Not even 18 months, has it been? Because he got hired in November time.
Yeah.
So less than 18 months later, he's now gone. So they have to admit defeat on this one. It's going to be very interesting to see their next move, because the promise of a better Man United under this new structure hasn't come to pass, has it? It's been worse, actually. It's been that, at what point do they start pining for the Glazers to return? Because Ineos have been worse.
Yeah, Samuel Luckhurst from the Manchester Evening News says the main issue that the January transfer window had, Ruben Amorim wanted different players to Jason Wilcox, and they went head to head behind the scenes. Yeah,
and it's interesting to see it's becoming more and more common, isn't it? Managers being pitted against hierarchies, because it's like back in the day under when there was Fergie and Wenger, these such massive figureheads. They got what they wanted. They had full control, and it worked for them. But in the last few years, it's become a problem where you give a manager exactly what he wants and he still doesn't get results, and then you're stuck with the manager's players with a manager who isn't good enough, and you end up sacking him, and all of a sudden it's a mishmash. So clubs are going in more of a direction now of a more communal kind of process where it's more club signings, more signings made by groups and leadership groups rather than one guy deciding. But then that leads to a butting heads between the management and hierarchy. And if they disagree and the manager wants something, the hierarchy disagree, all of a sudden the manager then has ammo to say, well, I didn't get my players. I know if I had these players, I'd be all right. But the club went in a different direction. So it's interesting to see that fight being played out with top clubs now. And I think Maresca and even Nuno at Forest and now Amorim, that it's happening more and more often.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we've seen it over the years at Spurs as well.
Yeah.
So, look, I think one winner from this that is going to start to get a lot more minutes now is Kobbie Mainoo. I think Kobbie Mainoo is probably delighted in the background being like, I'm going to get a chance.
Well, what's Amorim's next steps now? Do you think he gets a good job still? Is United just seen as a poison chalice and people think he could probably do better somewhere else? Maybe a mid-table Premier League team? I think he could be suited to a mid-table Premier League team, you know?
Yeah, like, I wouldn't be... I mean, you look at it. Could he be a good fit for Crystal Palace next season after...
Swapping managers.
After Glasner?
100%, I think he could.
Yeah, I think he would as well. So, I don't know if he stays in the Premier League or goes back to Portugal or whatever, but if Lisbon are looking for a manager at the end of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up back there.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up somewhere in Serie A. He seems like a very kind of Serie A kind of manager.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's move on to Everton-Brentford. This was a surprise, this result. Finished 4-2 to Brentford. We both went for 2-0 to Everton.
Yeah.
Igor Thiago getting a hat-trick on the day. I didn't see much of this game, but I just saw that as the goals were going in, it was like 1, 2, 3. I don't know, Everton didn't seem to stand a chance in this game.
Yeah, they blew them away, Brentford, and they've been really poor away from home for a lot of the season, but they really... I was watching some of the highlights on Match of the Day, and it seemed as though Everton went quite offensive in this game. Obviously, Grealish was back in the side. They had Barry up front. But just watching by the setup, it seemed like Brentford were just catching him on the counter every single time, and it was just like one ball in behind, and Thiago was seemed to be in and goal. It seemed like Damsgaard was having a phenomenal game, playing like a bit of like an inside number 10 position, and he was just finding Thiago in behind time after time. And Thiago, off the back of no goals in 6 games, goes and gets a hat-trick and looks as confident as ever. 3 brilliant finishes as well.
Yeah.
So confident, one-on-one with the keepers, little chips over the keeper. Fantastic finishing from him. And he could have had more because he had a couple of one-on-ones that he missed as well. So what a day for Thiago. 14, Premier League goals now?
14 goals in 20 games.
Is he going to be Brazil's number 9 despite not having a cap for Brazil yet?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
I think
I think he's the 5th top goal scorer in Europe's top 5 leagues.
Yeah, I know he is, but I just don't know if he suits the way Brazil want to play. I still think he's a limited player.
But they don't really have a number 9.
I know, but they play this like 4-2-2-2, don't they? With like Vinicius up front with Cunha, and I don't know. I don't think he's going to take them out of the team.
I think he might. I think if he keeps scoring, I think in tournaments...
I think he might be in the plane.
Yeah, I think he'll go on the plane.
I don't think he'll start though.
I think if he's on the plane, I think once he gets in training, he might do. I'm not saying he's like perfect. I agree, he's limited, but like I wouldn't be surprised if the manager is Ancelotti. He very much works on getting the best out of a group of players, and if Thiago's running red hot, though that can be very valuable in a tournament, a striker in form. Tournament's all about moments and form and momentum. That's what's so massive in tournaments. You've seen players have great tournaments and then they go off to not be that great. And I think he would be stupid to not make the most of a hot streak from Thiago if he carries this on.
Maybe. Look, I think he'll definitely be on the plane, but you've got players like João Pedro, Vinicius. I know Martinelli's not doing much, but he gets in the Brazil squad quite a bit. Rodrigo, who's still getting called up, even though he's not.
They're all wingers.
They're all wingers, but they all seem to play up front for
they don't
Brazil.
Have a striker, yeah.
Yeah, Richarlison as well. I reckon if this form comes up, Richie won't be on the plane, and he will be on the plane. But no, I think he'll get minutes off the bench, and he might score some goals. I just don't know if he'll be from a starting role. Well, maybe we'll see. But what a season he's having, and he's only 4 goals behind his season that convinced Brentford and Thomas Frank to sign him, which was 18 goals in the Belgian league, which is doing it in the Premier League now. Which is crazy.
And they're also Brentford 7th, and they're 1 point off 5th.
Yeah.
What a brilliant job Keith Andrews is doing there at Brentford. They're unbeaten in 5. They've won 3 of their last 4. They're just doing brilliantly.
Yeah. Massive credit. And, Otara, who was a massive part of them, goes off to the AFCON, and it doesn't seem to hurt them at all.
Mad. A month ago, I was watching a video of a Brentford fan saying he wasn't happy with him, and that he's convinced this guy isn't good, and we need to replace him. And now all of a sudden, look at them. They're in the dizzying heights of higher than they've ever been.
Yeah, crazy. But, it's such a weird league, though, isn't it? Because 2 losses and they're back down to 15.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. But they are playing very well at the moment, isn't it? You can't no denying it.
Yeah. Let's move on to Fulham against Liverpool. A mad game at Craven Cottage. I went for 2-2, so I get a 5-pointer for this one. Sim went for 2-1 to Fulham. So Fulham take the lead. Liverpool get it back. Looks like they've won the game in the 94th minute with... Cody Gakpo has his Richarlison moment, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He takes off his shirt, he's going mad, and a few minutes.
Richarlison had a tear in his eye. So proud.
And it's quite fitting for it to happen at Liverpool, because Richarlison's happened against Liverpool, one of them anyway. And a few minutes later, so Gakpo scored, I think, the 93rd minute, and you're thinking, all right, 3 points to Liverpool, fair play, Craven Cottage, hard place to go. Harrison Reed, up steps Harrison Reed. What a goal from him. I didn't know this guy had this kind of shot in his locker.
You weren't familiar with his game.
No, I was not familiar with his game. You cannot get more top bins than that. That is top of the bins. It's unbelievable.
Apparently, he said after the game, I've been practicing and training. It's my, I knew this was coming. Of course, he did, Harrison. But brilliant goal. What a finish. And look, Liverpool, again, underwhelming in this game. Despite, to be fair, going 1-0 down, then taking the lead. Again, they had a lot of flaws, I think. Look, to be fair, I didn't watch this game. I was at Spurs, but I was just seeing the highlights, and it seemed as though they were getting opened up too often. Harry Wilson carries on his brilliant season with another brilliant goal from him, that sweet left foot of his. But the big controversy in this game was that offside from Florian Wirtz.
Yeah.
Because it was very odd, because on the pitch, it was given offside. The images seemed to agree with that, and yet it was given onside by the official. Now, apparently, it was actually offside, but because of the tolerance level that the Premier League has, which is 5 centimetres, if the lines are touching, then it's 5 centimetre tolerance level, and the advantage goes to the attacker. So they switched the decision to onside, but I think that's wrong. I don't think it's wrong to have a tolerance level, but I think if it's given on offside on the pitch, and it is offside, you have to stick with that decision. I think if it's given onside on the pitch, and then it hits the tolerance level, then I think you stick with the decision and you give the goal. But to overturn a goal that was given offside on the pitch, that was actually offside, I think is totally wrong.
Yeah, it's nuts.
I think that's crazy.
It's absolutely nuts. It makes a mockery of everything. It makes a complete mockery. Well, Liverpool get away with it. They absolutely get away with it, and they took a point. And you know what? You're talking about being opened up at Craven Cottage. I mean, everyone seems to get opened up at Craven Cottage, to be honest. I mean, didn't Fulham score 4 goals against Manchester City not long ago? So
they're in great form, Fulham, by the way.
They are in great form. We were talking about them about 2 months ago as relegation candidates, and now where are they? Like 4?
They're 11th, but they're
11th.
Yeah, 4 points off third. Well, to be fair, you can say about half the Premier League, 4 points off third, which is nuts.
But Marco Silva has done a fantastic job at Fulham. There's no two ways about it. I think no one can tell me otherwise. I think he's done brilliantly. But Liverpool, they just can't seem to get a consistent run going. However, they are 4th in the league, and you would think, the way people are talking about them, they'll be mid-table or stuff. But they're 4th in the league. They're 3 points above 5th. So they're not doing too badly for a club in crisis.
Yeah, considering they lost 7 out of 8 games and they were down in mid-table, and they've definitely turned that around. And ever since that dropping of Salah, they're still unbeaten. Yeah, they dropped Salah in that game against Leeds, didn't they? Mm-hmm. And they're unbeaten since then. Yeah. So they haven't lost. They've definitely stabilised, but definitely still think all's not right. They drew 0-0 to Leeds. They
need a centre back massively.
There's still a lot of issues there. Obviously, Ikatike was injured for this game, so that obviously hurt them. We know Isaac has a long injury. So, yeah, all is not right, but I think all things considered, top 4, if you offered it to them now, they'll probably take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to Newcastle 2, Crystal Palace 0. Good victory for Newcastle at home. We both went for Newcastle victories. You went for 2-1, I went for 3-1. And Brennan Johnson's debut for Crystal Palace, apparently not such a great game, is what I'm hearing. Apparently he had a hand in the goal that they conceded. However, apparently he put a cross on the money for Mateta and he fluffed his lines. But pretty much a routine victory for Newcastle, and more evidence of what a great season Bruno Guimaraes is having.
Yeah, and I think it's 7 goals. Apparently, he's matched his best ever goal tally already this season that he's ever had. So brilliant from him. But Palace are tanking a bit, aren't they? They're really struggling to sustain this season with the squad they have, with obviously injuries and AFCON at the moment. They're really struggling for form, and they keep conceding goals from set pieces. They're I think near the top of the league now for goals conceded from set pieces, and you don't associate that with Palace and Glasner being weak in those situations. Yeah, they're really struggling. Like, I think 52% of their goals are conceded from set pieces. Why is that happening? Why have they been so bad in those situations? Because that's not what you associate a lack of squad depth with, because they've still got some good defenders there. So it's really strange. They're down in 14th. They're only they're 4 points away from Bournemouth, who have only not won in 11 games. So only a few weeks ago they were in the top 4 and flying, and now all of a sudden, bad run of form, they're now 14th. Leeds are 5 points behind them all of a sudden. So it's really poor from. It's unfortunate though. You can't really blame Glasner for it. You can't really blame Palace for it.
I can't see it turning until they go back to 1 game a week. First of all, we know that during the season, even when they had all their players fit, their squad wasn't big enough to cope with those 2 games a week. Now they've got Munoz out, Ismaila Sarr's at the AFCON. There's a few other.
Richards out.
Look, they've got players out and key players as well. So I can't see it turning for them until first of all, they get a few players back, and second of all, they go back to 1 game a week.
Yeah, really worrying. But from Newcastle's point of view, they spent a lot of the season lower mid-table, but they're 9th now, and could they make a charge for that European spots? Why not?
Of course they can make a charge.
Also seems he's fit now, and he seems to be doing all right.
Yeah, of course they can make a charge for it. They've got more than enough quality. They've got more quality than teams above them. So there's no reason why not. But they need to sort out. Yeah, and a very good manager. They need to sort out their away form. Their home form hasn't been the problem. It's their away form. They can't seem to get any sort of consistency away from home, and I'm not sure what that is to do with. Anthony Gordon as well. I think he's been very hot and cold this season, more cold than hot.
I feel like Whistler as well, now he's fit, they now have a bit of more unpredictability, because I think as much as how well Voltmader did for most of the season, the fact that he's like the type of player he is kind of made them a bit predictable, and also made they couldn't really run him behind as well. And now they've got Whistler. They look more like the team they were last season when they had Isaac, because they're more similar players in terms of just that ability to stretch defences. So I think it's massive for them that Whistler's now available. Yeah,
absolutely. So, we'll see what happens. And I think those games as well, which they lost at home, like against the big boys, against the Man Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals. No, they beat Man City, but Liverpool, Arsenal, and there was another one in there as well. Can't remember who it was. They drew to us. Like, teams that want to go and press them and play a high line, Vista is going to be so important. And I think he would have, he could have scored a few goals in those kind of games. Let's go to Spurs. Spurs 1, Sunderland 1. Sim went for 1-1. I went for 0-0. So Sim gets 5 points. I get 1 point. Pleasantly surprised with the first half performance of Spurs. We looked aggressive. We were pressing high from the front. We were winning balls back in really good areas. When the ball was going into like the halfway line area, I thought Bentancur was doing such a good job, and Romero and Van der Ven were stepping into the midfield and winning the ball back consistently. I just like that aggressive edge that we had in that first half. I was delighted with, but still didn't create too much in the first half. Didn't test the keeper enough. Got the goal from a set piece. Ben Davis, of all people, unbelievable. Look, that goal just said what Spurs' problems are. That goal came from Romero to Van der Ven to Ben Davis. You know what I mean? That is just a Spurs goal if I've ever seen one this season. And then, look, second half, we just let the game come on top of us, and Sunderland, the game switched at some point in that second half, and Sunderland just started to dominate us massively. And when the goal came, you could see it coming a mile off, to be honest. And it was an unbelievable team goal from Sunderland. Vicario had no chance with it. Unbelievable finish from Brobby. And, Sunderland could have won it at the end as well.
Yeah, and Tottenham's woes at home continue. We just can't seem to get any sort of consistency in our home ground for so long now. And I don't know whether there was nerves in the air. I mean, to be fair, look, I was there, and I think we were cheering on the team. I don't think there was nerves. And I think in that second half, we've seen it a few times this season now with Spurs take the lead, and then the second half, drop it deeper, try and hit them on the counter and see out the game. Either you win the game 1-0 or you try and get a second. And we invited Sunderland onto us when we had them in the palm of our hand, and we allowed them back into the game. We stepped off the gas, and there you go. We got punished for it, and Sunderland equalised. I thought Frank definitely went into this game with more attacking intent, because you can see with the lineup, he added another extra attacking player in there, and he went with that front four. And that front four, as much as it wasn't amazing, it looked a lot better than what we had seen in previous games. So that was that was a good thing. But unfortunately, it hasn't been anywhere. We haven't seen that anywhere near enough. And I think with these setups, you need to be doing it consistently. You can't just turn it on for one game and expect it to click. That needs to be your approach, and that's how the players get used to it. And I feel like seldom it's not been our approach anywhere near enough. And obviously, Kuda's going off injured didn't help, and he is hampered at the moment because you've sold Johnson. Kuda's went off injured. Xavi was suspended. So I did feel for him a bit the fact that there was a lack of options really in this specific game, and I think come the second half that hurt us because the subs didn't help. But unfortunately, there was loud boos at the end of the game, and I said after the game, I don't think it was a booable performance, but in terms of the context of what's been happening, I can understand the frustration and the boos, and the pressure's mounting on Frank. The performances have still just not up to scratch. We're 13th in the league, although that can change very quickly. But we need big things to happen in January if we're going to turn this around, or if Frank's going to get a chance to turn this around, because I think at the moment it's not really working.
Yeah, no, it's not. And I can't really see it changing too much in January, because, whatever you want to say about Brennan Johnson and how he impacts games, he got goals, and he was our top goal scorer last season. And are we realistically able to convince a player that's better than Brennan Johnson to come to the club this summer, on top of Kudus being injured? So we need a player that is going to come in and make an instant impact. Are we going to be able to do that? Are we going to be able to convince them to come and play the brand of football and just playing the team that we've got right now? And if we sack Frank, are we going to be able to convince them to come to a managerless team with no direction? So I think Spurs are in a big mess right now, and I can't see it getting better anytime soon. That's the reality. So as much as whatever anyone wants to say about Frank, I think they've got no choice but to stick with him right now, because I don't see any alternative option or solution, particularly with convincing players to come.
Do you think the fact that United and Chelsea have sacked their managers, does that make our board look at our situation in a different way, or do you think they can block that out?
I think they'll block that out, to be honest, and I think they'll reassess things at the end of the season. Look, once we go out the FA Cup next week, and we are going out the FA Cup next week to Aston Villa, then what else is there to play for?
Still in the Champions League. And also, we're still very much that form contender. I mean, in terms of the race for Europe, we're not out of it by any stretch.
It's true, but I think, look, the league is very congested at this moment in time. But I think as the weeks progresses, that gap is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Correct.
So it's either we act now or there's no point.
Yeah, the problem is with United looking for a manager, that's not, you're competing with another club potentially if for a manager now. So it's even more difficult.
Yeah, if the plan for Manchester United is to go get Glasner at the end of the season, and if the plan for Chelsea is to bring in Leon Rossini now, then if I'm Spurs right now and the plan is to sack Frank, I go try get Maresca. That's what I try and do right now. However, I do feel it's probably more smarter to look at the managerial market at the end of the season and it'll be a much bigger pool of managers to go for.
I agree, unfortunately, but I don't like what I'm seeing. I fucking hate it.
I hate what I'm seeing. I agree with you. I hate what I'm seeing. I was a massive believer in Frank. I've kept saying time and time again, let him ride out the season and see where it goes. But it's just not getting better. As the weeks progress, nothing's getting better. However, you've got to say the last 3 home games, Brentford, Liverpool and Sunderland have sort of, I know it's 1 win, 1 loss and 1 draw, but performances have been slightly getting better.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we'll see what happens. Manchester City against Chelsea, 1-1. We both went for 3-1 to Man City. And
I think I was more hurt when Chelsea scored than when Sunderland scored.
Yeah, you should have seen my reaction on the fan show when Chelsea scored. I was interviewing someone, and Chelsea scored. I had it on this screen, and I looked at it, and I looked at him, and I was like, "Fuck!" Chelsea have just scored 93rd minute, and we all just lost all train of thought of the conversation that we were in. But yeah, look, it looked like Man City were gonna swipe Chelsea aside. They took 1-0 lead and you thought another goal was coming. It didn't come. And last minute, Enzo scores and makes it 1-1. But yeah, I was so surprised Man City didn't win this game.
Yeah, great goal from Reinders to take the lead. And it was a weird one. I was watching the second half and Chelsea definitely got better in that second half. They definitely started to find a lot more joy. But it's almost like City had the chances to kill this game off. They had so many openings, like 3, 4, 5 openings, just to get the pass right, and they would have sealed this game quite easily. Very unlike City, it was almost like they were too comfortable 1-0. It was like they didn't feel like they needed that second goal. It was like, oh, if we get it, it's great, but we'll see out this 1-0 win. But they didn't feel the urgency to get it. Every time a chance fell by the wayside, it was almost like, okay, it didn't really matter that much. But when you're playing a team like Chelsea, 1-0 is always a massive risk. And that's what we found right at the end of the game. They found their moment, mess up at the back, great ball across the face of the goal, I think it was Gusto, and Enzo just bundles it in. And what a costly moment that is for Man City in the title race, because a win against Chelsea at home in a big game keeps that pressure, keeps them on Arsenal's coattails. And if they would have won this game, you go forward and you think they're still very much there in the title race. But now the gap is 6 points, and that is a massive blow, considering all the work they've done to put them back in a situation where they were very close to Arsenal. 2 draws in a week, and Arsenal win 2 games, against a rampant Villa side and away at Bournemouth, which is not an easy place to go. To win those 2 games, you get 2 draws. That's a massive setback for Pep Guardiola. Absolutely massive. And they've got some tough away games. Arsenal have played a lot of tough away games, and City still got to go to Stamford Bridge. They've got to go to Anfield. They've got to go to the Tottenham Stadium, which they don't have a great record. They've got to go to a few places.
Yeah.
So
it's not looking good for City.
All of a sudden, it's not looking as good as it was a week ago.
They've drawn 2 games in the last 2 games that they shouldn't have. And as much as everyone was saying City are back, City look like the best team in this league, well, they don't look like the most stable team in this league right now, and Arsenal do. So apparently Arsenal right now, according to Opta percentages, are the highest percentage they've been throughout the season so far to win this league now. So
wow.
Yeah, so it looks as though that Arsenal are potentially going to do it. But look, there's half a season left to go.
Arsenal just the Etihad.
Yeah, they do, but there's 6 points in it. We need Arsenal to start dropping some points.
Yeah. The thing is Arsenal at the moment, they just look inevitable with the way they're playing, in terms of, even in games they're not playing well, at any moment, whether it be a set piece or a moment of quality, they can score. Whereas with Man City, they create loads of chances, but they can concede at any moment as well. It's a bit like there's a difference. Whereas Arsenal, they're so solid.
It's the stability. That's what it is.
They just seem as though at the moment Arsenal, they're just by hook or the crook going to be getting over the line, whereas Man City need to be at their sharpest, it seems, to be winning games, because when they win 3 or 4-0. A lot of the time Man City scoring lots of goals, but when they're a tiny bit off it, they don't have this way of grinding out results like Arsenal do.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. But the problem, I guess, for Arsenal is they're grinding out too much. They need to have a few more comfortable wins, but
to be fair, they ground out the City ground a few weeks ago, not Man City, 2-1 victory. But yeah, look, I think over the last few weeks they haven't looked as good as they were, and there's been a bit of a drop off in performance. You look at that Forest game, you look at the Sunderland game, and now you're looking at the Chelsea game. I think their performance levels have dropped.
Maybe Semenyo might help with that.
Yeah, maybe. But look, Gvardiol got a big injury. He could be out for 3-4 weeks. That's going to be massive for them because I think Gvardiol, since they moved him to centre-back, they look so much better defensively, and I think they're going to be a bit more open now.
He's going to be a big miss if he's out for a while.
Yeah. All right, Star Men. Sim went for Barry of Everton, scored in the 92nd minute grab Sim a 5-pointer. And I went for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who got blanked against Manchester United. So we end up this week 198 to 199, neck and neck going into the second half of the season. We'll bring you our predictions for the next game week, which starts tomorrow later on today. But thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you then.